All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our educational event today. We're going to be going over cross training. So, if there's anything that COVID-19 has taught us, it's that, being resilient is one of the most important things. And it's also actually a crucial aspect in running. So you could be the most disciplined runner, taking care of your health, eating well, stretching every day. But even if you control everything that you can, there's always things that you can't, and that'll sidetrack your progress. Right, so there might be a sudden injury that pops up in your running, or there might be some circumstances that prevent you from going outside. Right, so the point is that you're feeling less motivated to actually get going and get running because you can't actually do it. So this is where Stay Running steps in, right? So our core objectives is to keep people running, have them overcome obstacles, and prevent them from anything that'll stop them from running, right? So one of the main questions we get is like, how do you keep running when you can't even run, right? And the answer is that you don't, right? You actually have to cross train and do different physical activities which hit the same muscles, so you're prepared whenever you go out running again, so you're in the same physical shape as before. So throughout this event, we're gonna help you find the most creative and different ways to cross train, so that even a minor setback in running can be a major step forward and can ultimately keep you to stay running. So from an organization standpoint, the event will last approximately 25 to 30 minutes with a quick Q&A from our team at the end. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them right in the comment section on the side, and we'll be sure to address them. Also, we're going to be sending out a pamphlet with all the information from the video. And you're more than welcome to take notes, but all the basic information will be sent out in our guide. And from there, I'd like to hand it over to Utah, who will be talking about the benefits of cross-training.
All right, so cross-training is a hold up. Okay, so some of the benefits of cross-training are that obviously you can maintain fitness while you're injured. Most of the options that we're going to talk about in terms of cross-training, they'll be likely low impact, and also you can run through inclement weather. For example, if you're in a very like a rainy environment, um, it might be hard to sort of get out and running. So you can just do some indoor activities as cross-training to sort of get your exercise in. Also, some forms of cross training reduce risk of injury. Running constantly, there's going to be a lot of impact on your joints, especially if you're going on hard surfaces. So if you do some activities that have lower impact on the muscles for cross training, that's going to reduce your risk of injury, especially from impact. And also, cross training does have some selective aerobic benefits. For example, instead of doing like a second run, or if instead of running on some days, you could sort of do a swim workout instead, or you could do a sort of run on the treadmill or elliptical. And what you could do is you could have a sort of high intensity interval workout, and that will really help your cardiovascular system. That will improve your VO2 max levels. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it's gonna have significant significant and positive impact on your cardiovascular system, and that is like really comparable, or maybe it might be even better than just going out and running. What if you're not able to run, then yeah. And yeah, and I'd like to pass it off to Emily, who's going to talk about how much we should cross train.
Thank you. So, there's a snippet from a two-time Olympic marathoner and NCAA coach that you can substitute 25 to 30% of your weekly running mileage for cross training, which ensures that you maximize your fitness without only relying on mileage. So that's going to minimize your injury risk. Therefore, you can vary the amount of cross training you do based on how high your mileage currently is. And if you're recovering from an injury and have completely been cross training throughout your routine, you can gradually do the reverse and begin incorporating more and more mileage into your week. And I'm going to switch it over to biking.
All right, so biking, it's a very good way to train cross train because it's very environmentally friendly. It's also it's super low impact, and also can be like a massive leg workout. And not only that, it can really help with your cardiovascular system, and it helps to circulate blood, which aids in recovery. Sort of the biggest safety precaution to biking is that obviously you need to know how to ride a bike, but also sometimes when you're going out on the road, you have to share the road with cars. So definitely have to watch out for just practice some good road, good sort of like good safety on the road. And the best way to start off biking is get like a bike, or buy like an exercise bike, go to the gym. Gyms have a stationary bikes, and it's usually thought that 3 miles biked is equivalent to 1 mile run. And when you're trying to go easy on bike rides, sort of make sure to keep this like ratio in consideration. And yeah, and next, Paul's going to be talking about rowing machines and cross training on the cross training in terms of rowing.
All right, so rowing has been a proven incredibly good for cross training. What makes it so beneficial is, one, it can be a super intense, low impact form of exercise, and two, it engages the majority of the muscles in your body. These muscles include your abs, hamstrings, quads, calves, and glutes, all muscles that are key to running. The one big precaution you really have to consider is to make sure that you're using proper form. If you don't, you aren't getting the gains you would from the workout, and you're putting yourself at higher risk for injury. Some other precautions are to look out for making sure that your feet are strapped down so that you don't explode out from the resting position and fly off the machine. Another one is to make sure that you keep your back straight to prevent it from straining when you pull back. And another one is to keep your toes forward so that you keep your ligaments from straining. Also make sure that when you're using a machine to weigh it down or to put it on a carpet so that it doesn't move around. In normal case, it wouldn't move around if you were using proper form. There are a couple ways to get started into rowing. You can buy a physical boat and have if you have a large enough body of water near you, or you can buy a machine that you place in your house, preferably on a carpet. Or you can go to a gym that has one of these machines. When you get on, make sure that you strap your feet into the foot holders. Put the straps on the line where your lace is in. Grab the bar with both hands and start with your knees folded and your shoulders slightly in front of your hips. In other words, bend your back to the 1 o'clock position. Then push out with just your legs. Next, bend your back backwards to the 11 o'clock position, and after which, pull your arms in, making sure that you and your elbows are tucked in and not sprawled outwards. For beginners, make sure that you follow this process. Once you get better, this process will start to blend together. On the way back, you do the exact same process backwards, shutting with your arms. You release them. Then you follow up by bending your back forward to the 1 o'clock position and finally bending your knees in. By rowing, not only can you stay fit, but you can actually get quite an intense workout in. It's recommended that you row in sets of 10 minutes and that you do 1 to 2 sets. That's just for beginners though. You can scale up with these sets for more advanced runners. Now let's go to stair climbing with Soho.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. So now we're going to go on to stair climbing. And as the name suggests, it's essentially just doing a repetitive workout up and down a set of stairs. And it is a really great cross-training method because it is a plyometric motion, which means it uses similar muscles to lunges and squats, such as your hamstrings and quads. And what that is that increases strength and power that can be later used for increasing your finish for distance runs or when sprinting and running also. And in addition, stair climbing forces you to use stabilizer muscles such as the gluteus medius, which is actually rarely used in running. So it allows for your holistic muscle growth and being holistically in shape. Additionally, actually, stair climbing increases your VO2 max, which is the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can use during an activity. And in a study conducted by the British Journal of Sports Medicine, it found that short bouts of stair climbing, about 5 days a week for 8 weeks, actually improved VO2 max by 17% among young women. So some, quick safety precautions for stair climbing is that someone who has a history of knee injury should not be doing this exercise because it puts excess pressure on your knee joints, which can lead to further injuries in the future. Also, people with weaker bone joints or tissues should contact their physician or their physical therapist before they do any of these stair climbing activities, just because it does put excess pressure on your bones and your joints, especially in the knees. So, how do we actually get started? What's the best way to kind of put this out there and actually get started with this? Is that first you need to find a good pair of shoes, and the next thing you need a flight of stairs. So we actually recommend, if you're going to cross train with running, we recommend either finding one which is indoor, which is wide enough to kind of have 2 people on it so you're not disrupting any traffic. And what that will do is that if it's too rainy outside to go running, if there's inclement weather so you can't actually go, rather you can go stair climbing, and you can cross train and make sure you're getting those other muscles worked. You can also actually use a stair climbing machine at the gym if you can't find a stairwell, or if you don't want to use a stair climbing machine, or if they're taken, use the stairwell at the gym and just do stair climbing. All in all, stair climbing is a really great routine. It's super easy to do, and actually a basic workout routine for it is, we recommend doing it just in the beginning, just a short 10 minutes, right? So you can even add it on right at the end of your run, just a quick 5 to 10 minute without stopping up and down the stairs. And what this will do is it'll get your heart pumping, and it'll actually start to slowly increase your VO2 max. And then you slowly build up doing it, first 2 to 3 times a week, then 4 to 5 times a week, and increasing the amount that you're doing it for. For example, 5 minutes straight, 10 minutes straight, and finally 15 minutes straight. And then you'll finally be able to work your way up to 30 minutes straight, which is kind of the benchmark that we recommend. So in conclusion, stair climbing is one of the best activities for, higher intensity. It's a great supplement to running as it allows you to work supplementary muscles that you would use. And now I'd like to hand it off to Utah, who will be talking about swimming.
All right, so swimming is a great way to sort of cross train, and it's also a really good way to keep your body in shape when you're injured, especially because it's almost like a no impact sport. So it gives your body a break from the pounding, and also it's a less risky version of it's a less risky way to cross train because there's like a lower chance of re-injury. And another great aspect about swimming in terms of cross training is that it's a very good sport for working your cardiovascular system, because it's sort of you're holding in your breath, so it taxes the hypoxic system and forces your lungs to work harder. And when to begin, there are a few precautions that you have to be aware of when you're going out to swim to cross train. Obviously, in order to sort of effectively cross train with swimming, you have to be able to know how to swim. So if you aren't as experienced in swimming, definitely make sure to swim in a supervised area, such as like a lane pool. Be with like a swimming buddy, that kind of stuff. And really the only equipment that you really need for swimming is like a swimsuit, maybe like a swim cap if you have longer hair, that could be helpful, and goggles. And sort of supplementary equipment that aren't really necessary, but you could also use our kickboards, pull buoys. Those sort of help to isolate your sort of muscle groups so that you're targeting, for example, like your legs, your core, that kind of stuff. And also when you're deciding how to whether or not you should swim, you should definitely check pool schedules, that kind of stuff. Some pools might be closed at certain times. We have some in order to guide sort of swimming as cross training, we have a bunch of sets. We have a sort of set for beginners and then set for more experienced swimmers. We'll definitely be sending that out in our guide. And there's definitely we've sent out 2 examples of sets, but there's definitely a large variety of sets that you can pick up in terms of swimming. Just look them up online. Look for one that you think you can do and pick that. And yeah. And next, Sam will be talking about soccer for cross training.
Hey guys, sorry about that. We're having some technical difficulties. Sam, real quick.
It worked.
Boom. Perfect.
Nice. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hold on. Okay. Soccer. I expect you to know the premise. It's also known as football. But you take a soft and elastic ball about the size of a proper watermelon. You kick it with your feet into one of 2 goals marked by posts on either end of a field divided into 2 halves. It's a fun and it's a healthy way to get exercise by running and moving around the field, and you kick the ball with substantial force. You'll stress the muscles you use to run and the muscles you use to strike a ball, control a ball. When I think of playing soccer, I think of the hamstrings, the quads, your hip flexors, your calves, and the plantar muscles, your feet. And those are the muscles your body's working the most. Don't play soccer if you have any torn ligaments in the knee, or if you have any other injury that impedes proper running, kicking, and controlling of the ball. To get involved with soccer, you don't need 2 teams of 11. You don't need a coach and 2 goals in a massive field. All you really need is a ball and maybe a buddy. Not even that, though. If you have a ball and some open space or even a wall, you can kick the ball around, you can dribble, you can get some touches on the ball, and you're moving around and you're reaping the same benefits that you would in a normal soccer match. Something with that, though, is if you do go out to play soccer, I recommend getting proper footwear. If you aren't using the right shoes, if soccer cleats or just a really well-fitting shoe, it's really easy to twist your ankle and hurt yourself. So there's that. Before playing soccer, make sure to stretch your calves, your hamstrings, your quads, and your hips statically, and then do dynamic stretches for each of those muscle groups, but then also throw the groin in there, do some sidestepping and opening the gate and closing the gate. Otherwise, soccer is just a fun way to increase your cardiorespiratory capabilities. Whether you're playing a full-fledged game or you're just passing a ball around, you can move your body and you can push your fitness limit. There's also a competitive edge that makes the sport more fun than just running back and forth on a track. You're there for purpose. You're there to get better, have fun, and maybe even win. Soccer also is a form of cross training. It's not the most safe alternative. If you're looking for something, if you're injured and you need an alternative to running, soccer should not be your first option, but it is fun and it's inspiring. All right, I'm going to pass the baton off to Paul, who's going to talk about aqua jogging as a form of cross training.
Right, so aqua jogging is also another incredibly good form of cross training. That's because it has no impact on your legs and yet uses all the running specific muscles that you would use. The one disclaimer, the only injury that this form of cross training isn't good for is a hip flexor injury, because the greater resistance of water gets it aggravated. The one safe precaution that you should take is knowing how to swim prior to doing this exercise, because you'll need access to a pool that is deeper than the length from your feet to your collarbone. As a beginner, make sure that you get some form of a flotation device or a kickboard or a pool buoy or a foamed dumbbell or an aqua jogging vest to help keep you afloat. You should also use a tether to keep yourself from jogging around the pool. To start off with, get into the deeper side of the pool with some flotation device. Next, with you holding that device, point your leg straight down and do a straight leg kick. Although we call it a straight leg kick, there will be a little bend in your knees. Because of that, all you need to do is add a bit more bend to your knees to get a proper aqua jogging leg form. And once you got that going, you'll probably have just enough thrust from your legs to let go of your flotation device. Once you let go, just pump your arms like you're on a normal run. With both your arms and your legs moving, you'll have enough thrust to keep your head above the water so that you can breathe as if you're on a run. Aqua jogging is a great way to cross train, being that it closely simulates running without the worry of impact, destroying your legs. This means that the amount of time it takes you to do an easy run, you should take that time to do easy pool running. Not only that, but you can easily simulate workouts that you would have done on the track in the pool with the same time intervals and levels of effort. And with that, we will go to treadmill running with Utah.
All right, so I'll admit that a lot of runners will call the treadmill the dreadmill. You know, it just you're just running in a straight line. It might be boring, but the thing is, treadmill running has a lot of benefits especially when it comes to cross training, and some of those benefits are you're able to maintain fitness. We mentioned this before, but you're able to maintain fitness during like an injury or in inclement weather, and also you can also have controlled workouts on a treadmill because the temperature is controlled. You can control the pace. You can control the sort of inclination, that kind of stuff. And so when you want to get started on treadmills, first thing, you gotta check to make sure you don't have any sort of injuries, pre-existing conditions. For example, if you have a stress fracture, probably not a good idea to get on the treadmill. And also, next thing, make sure to know how to use the treadmill. One of the main dangers with using a treadmill is sort of the risk of slipping off, falling off. So make sure most treadmills have a sort of big red button, or they have a sort of handlebars on the sides, and you have to know how to use these. And yeah, and also you should be able to know how to sort of adjust your pace. So the thing with treadmills is that they will force you to run at a pace. So if you're not used to a pace and if you don't know how to adjust the pace, then it's going to cause you to run at a pace that you're not really comfortable with. So definitely know how to use the treadmill, adjust the pace, that kind of stuff. Also sort of ease into it. Personally, when I get on the treadmill, for example, for me, 9 minutes per mile might seem easy, but when I get on treadmill, first thing, if I set it to 9 minutes per mile, it's going to feel very different because you're not running on like a normal surface, you're just running on the treadmill. So it might seem faster than you're usually used to. So definitely sort of ease into it. Just start at the slowest pace and then sort of work into it, gradually get into the normal pace that you'd run outside. And also switch it up. Definitely, I recommend switching it up on the treadmill. It's going to get very boring if you just run at the same pace on the treadmill for a long period of time. But the good thing is most treadmills have built-in workout programs. So they'll allow you to sort of switch up the pace, intensity. They'll be preset, so you don't even have to adjust the buttons. And they'll keep you on your feet. It'll make the run sort of like an active challenge. And I have a few like recommendations if you want to sort of personalize your run. Sort of pyramid workouts are really good on treadmills. So you start off at a relatively low sort of inclination, and then you as time progresses, for example, every 10 minutes you increase the inclination by like 1%. And then once you get to like a certain inclination that's really hard, you just go back down. So it's like kind of like a pyramid workout. Also, Another one is you can have a sort of sprint effort every for like 30 seconds to 1 minute every sort of 10 minutes, that kind of stuff. Sort of injects some sort of speed. It'll keep you sort of on your feet, that kind of stuff. And also the most important thing, just have fun. You know, it's not like you're running outside. You don't have to worry about sort of your surroundings. So you can just blast your favorite music, watch your favorite show, and it'll definitely help the time pass by. And it'll feel like you just it was like a very short workout, but in fact it'll be like a very long workout. So yeah. And next, Emily will be talking about elliptical running.
Cool. Thanks, Utah. Okay, so an intro to the elliptical is basically an aerobic workout machine which helps you replicate the cardio workout that you get from running. And unlike running, which is more of a high impact exercise, the elliptical allows you to get a low impact workout in. So it's perfect for runners with overuse injuries who want to give their joints more of a rest. So some precautions, because using the elliptical requires good coordination, people who are not comfortable with the risk of separation between foot and pedal, and which can happen either when your foot slides off the pedal or when the pedal keeps moving while your foot is still suspended in the air, people who aren't comfortable with this risk should not use the elliptical. All right, so how do you get started on the elliptical? You can purchase one for $1,000 to $2,000, or you can find an elliptical to use at your local gym. And some tips are to make sure you wear shoes that have good tread so you're less likely to slip off. So overall, the elliptical comprehensively provides a good upper and lower body workout that targets your glutes, hamstrings, chest, back, quads, biceps, triceps, and core. So next, I'm going to go over a study where researchers wanted to compare the oxygen consumption, energy expended, and heart rate on an elliptical versus a treadmill at the same level of exertion, for those of you who are curious about how using the elliptical differs from the treadmill. So from the results, the researchers discovered that while your heart rate is slightly higher on the elliptical, the oxygen consumed and energy expended were similar for both machines. So they concluded that, quote unquote, during a cross training or non-competition specific training phase, an elliptical device is an acceptable alternative to a treadmill. Furthermore, ellipticals allow you to control the speed and resistance. Speed allows you to adjust the pace, which makes it easier for you to do high intensity interval training workouts, or HIIT. And when you increase the resistance, it gets harder to continue your pedal movement at the same speed, and repeatedly doing this will gradually improve your lower body muscular strength. So here are two examples of how you can replicate your tempo running workouts and speed workouts on your elliptical, and they're both taken from the two-time Division I cross country All-American from Brown University, Jeff Gaudette. So the tempo replication would be a 10-minute warm-up on the elliptical, followed by 6 by 5 minute hard and 3 minute with interspersed with 3 minutes of easy elliptical workout, followed by a 5-minute cool down. So this kind of cross-training workout is great for runners who are more injury prone, who still need to maintain their fitness on their days off from running. And it's more of a rigorous workout that will keep your heart rate high, but it's not too strenuous that you can't perform it daily. So we'll have this in more detail in the pamphlet that we send out. And so next, replicating your speed workout on the elliptical. So an example is a 10-minute warm-up followed by 20 minutes at medium pace, and then 3 by 3 minutes hard workout with a 90-second recovery period between your reps, along with a 5-minute cool down. So this kind of workout is faster pace. It's a speed workout that's supposed to get you closer to your maximum heart rate, or the VO2 max. And since it's a harder effort, limit this cross-training workout to 2 to 3 times a week, since it's still about recovery even without the running impact. And now we're going to pass it on to Soham, who'll go over skiing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. Right now I'm going to talk about skiing. So skiing is not, your typical cross-training thing, right? The first thing you're not going to think of is skiing. But, I am an avid skier, and the writing section was one of the most fun things I did, just because I know how passionate people are about skiing, right? And we've actually gotten a few questions in the past about, how do you actually balance skiing and running, right? Is skiing an actual supplement? Can you go out on the slopes, for a couple of weeks straight, and is that okay for running, right? So kind of what the conclusion that we have come across is that skiing does it does use some of the same muscles as running, but it uses them in a different way, and it actually it uses your hamstrings, glutes, calves, and quads, but mainly in downhill skiing, right? But it doesn't use them in terms of long distance, right? In terms of longevity, right? It uses them for more like short-term bursts, because you need more power, you need more strength in your muscles for shorter turns rather than a more like distance running endurance type of muscle strength. So you are using the same muscles, however, it is using them in a different way, which is great for cross training because you're using your muscles, because you're just building holistically your muscle strength. However, what you want to do is when you're out skiing, you want to still be running on a treadmill at least 2 to 3 times a week. Just you're keeping your your distance muscles in shape. You're keeping up your endurance because skiing is less endurance and it's a more of a power sport. So if you are interested in taking up skiing, which a lot of people are, but if you're interested in specifically for cross training, it is important to go with someone that is experienced if you've never skied before, because skiing without if you've never done it, like one of my first times, or I've heard one of stories about someone's first time skiing in jeans. Okay, please, when you go out for the first time, don't ski in jeans. It's not recommended. So it's important to do your research beforehand. Make sure what you're getting into, and just be careful out there because skiing can definitely become a dangerous sport. In addition, skiing does largely impact your knees. So if you do have a history or have a family history of knee injuries, please be aware before signing up for a ski program in the beginning. So now how you get started. We didn't really want to cover all the information for skiing in the talk today because we are not ski specialists. So I would recommend doing, if you're interested in learning more about how skiing and long distance running or even sprinting, how they combine and how to do both at the same time, please feel free to reach out to info@stayrunning.org, and we're going to connect you with our ski education partners in your location, try to give you the best education for skiing, and we'll supplement the running part to make sure your training routine is holistic. And now I'm going to pass it off to Sam, who's going to talk about CrossFit.
Yes, thank you, Soham. I'm unmuted this time. All right, what you need to know about CrossFit. CrossFit it's really a lifestyle, but it consists of specialized workouts, and they're very tailored and specific to the individual. The point of cardio, or the point of CrossFit, is cardio and strengthening, and there's also a little bit of diet and what you're putting into your body. There's a little bit of focus there too, but basically it is in its entirety a way to get fit and then stay that way. So CrossFit is a cross training method. Looks like high intensity cardio followed by short periods of rest. And that method's called the Tabata method, and it will increase your cardiovascular potential. So if you're injured and you're unable to run, CrossFit is a really good alternative because you're still getting that cardio in, that higher heart rate, and you need to breathe a lot more with a proper CrossFit routine. So a possible workout that we sculpted is just a couple rounds of, you switch from biking to burpees, and then using a rowing machine for 20 seconds each one with 10 seconds of rest afterwards. So it's quick. You just cycle through that, and then you raise your heart rate, and you really get the blood pumping. So for these exercises specifically, you need a bike and a rowing machine. Two things that you could definitely find in a public gym or a CrossFit center, but you could also purchase them if that's something you want to do. Really, CrossFit you can do anywhere, and you can use your special tools, and it's really what you make it, which is good, but it's also you get out of it what you put in. So you can do CrossFit, but try to do it well, All right. Emily is going to talk to us about yoga.
All right, thanks, Sam. So, in Intro to Yoga, it's a spiritual and physical practice that has its roots in ancient Indian philosophy, and it involves a combination of physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation. But for this presentation, we're just going to focus on the physical postures. And since running is a high impact sport that primarily works out your quads, hamstrings, hip flexors, calves, and glutes, yoga can help stretch out those muscles while also helping to strengthen your other parts of the body, which helps you to maintain your overall balance. For example, yoga poses are really good at stretching out a runner's tight hip flexors and hamstrings on a cross-training day. So some tips, precautions. So you should wear loose and comfortable clothing, and you should also try modifying your postures based on what your body can handle at the moment, because with frequent practice, you can ease your way gradually towards the ideal posture. And additionally, since yoga can possibly exacerbate your existing pain, definitely do not pursue yoga postures at the moment that cause your injury to hurt even more. Some more precautions: be sure to know your limits. Don't try to reach for the stretch if you can't do it, since if it hurts too much. And yeah, so don't do a stretch if it hurts to do it, basically. So we're gonna go over a few good yoga poses that help runners on their cross training days. So the first one is going to be Warrior 3. So Warrior 3 is when you stand on one leg, bend your torso forward, and reach your arms out while extending your free leg backwards. This exercise is going to stretch your hamstrings and improve your balance and posture while expanding your chest. The next pose we have is the chair pose. Think of it as your wall sit without a wall. So in the chair pose, you position your knees at hips width apart, and you lean your chest forward and extend your arms above your head. So chair pose is good for strengthening your thighs and your ankles, as well as your shins and Achilles tendons. All right, and next we have, all right, so that's chair pose. Next we have Tadasana, or mountain pose. So since runners tend to have poor posture and they frequently exhibit a stoop with their shoulders rolling forward and their head rolling forward, Tadasana encourages a more proper alignment both on and off the mat, which gives you a better posture by helping make your breathing more efficient during your run. So to do this pose, begin to place your feet at a hip's distance apart, and then roll your shoulders up first, and then back and down. And then you're going to move your head slightly up and back to rest in your spine. Lift your arms up. So then you're going to stand and take deep breaths. And you can also close your eyes for more relaxation. And every time you inhale, feel your spine lift. And so the last pose we're going to go over is waterfall, or legs up the wall. And this pose is a really good recovery posture for runners because it's going to remove the swelling in your legs and help to speed up your recovery. And it's also going to isolate your hamstrings and gently stretch them. So first, you're going to lay on your side, placing one hip as close as you can to the wall. And then while you inhale, you're going to swing your legs up to rest on the wall and let your arms stretch out at your sides. Then you just have to relax and stay in this position for at least 7 minutes so fresh blood can be circulated into your legs. All right, that's all, and we're going to move it back to strength training with Sam.
Thanks, Emily. Strength training is kind of complementary to CrossFit, but it's a little bit different. So strength training focuses on individual muscles and making them stronger. You guessed it. There are varieties in workout methods, but weights and calisthenics are among the most popular ways to strengthen those individual parts of your body on a day off from running. Exercises vary based on which muscles you want to strengthen specifically, and so will equipment. At your average public gym, you can find all the weights and the space you need to complete one of these workout regimens. Alternatively, you can buy free weights and other workout equipment for an at-home gym. So yeah, with strength training, just like CrossFit, it's very tailored to your desires, like where you're lacking, what muscles and facilities you need to work on. It's also a useful tool that you can use to recover from an injury. So if you're injured, you can get advice from a trained professional on what to do in order to recover properly from that injury and kind of rehabilitate with strength training. Kind of bounce back. It's really good. we also have a little workout routine for the average runner. It'll focus on certain muscles that are pretty fundamental if you want to be successful in the running department. Now I'm going to pass the baton once more to Paul, who's going to talk about knowing when to cross train safely and just general advice for your physical health.
Thanks, Sam. So, as stated above, cross training is a great way to exercise and to stay fit. But usually, cross training is used for injured runners and injury prone runners. These are people who can't take the impact of running and need another means of exercise to keep up their running prowess. Cross training can be used for recovery and can also be used for recovery. It's recommended that intermediate runners cross train up after a workout. This isn't, although this isn't recommended for advanced runners to do this. That's because the best way to get better at running is to run. Advanced runners, if they haven't been injured or are injury prone, have bodies that can take on the abuse of running, and so that they can spend all their time running instead of cross training. Doing rowing or bicycling, those are all great, but they will not ever fully replace running. And with that, let's end this off with Soham.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So, thank you for everyone for coming. We'd now like to open up to a live Q&A for our team to answer any questions you have about cross training. We also like to talk about our own cross training past. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them right in the comment section next to you there. And we actually already have a couple questions. So the first one is, are there any cross training activities that you can do with running? What does everyone think?
So when it comes to sort of cross training activities that you can do with running, I would say sort of low impact activities, for example, like cycling, swimming, that kind of stuff. For me personally, I think if I wanted to go on a second run, I would probably sort of stick to swimming. But obviously, with swimming, you have to go out to a pool. So I would get on the elliptical mainly because the elliptical sort of less impact, and you sort of still get the motion of running. You still get you still work the most of the similar sort of muscle groups that are targeted in running. So I guess sort of cycling, elliptical running, swimming, those kind of activities I think would be most optimal for cross training while running.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused by the question. Yeah, are there any cross training activities that you can do with running?
Right. I think they mean like in tandem. Like, what can you do?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah. When I think of cross training activities to do with running, I think of like strength training. Sometimes we'll do a warm up and then we'll work on abs, and we'll do push-ups and we'll do leg lifts and just kind of work on strengthening the body before we go out and do an actual run. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think definitely strength training is the way to go. Trying to make sure your biceps, your triceps, your upper body's as in shape and toned as your lower body when you're running. So the next question we have is, what cross training does your team do? So I think we can just go around and kind of each person answer this question. Paul, you want to start us off?
Well, personally, I don't typically cross train. I haven't been injured, and I don't typically feel the need to. Although I will go on bike rides from time to time, and I have been like getting into calisthenics, so working on my push-up form, pull-ups, squats, and whatnot, all those things. But it's not usually for like recovery or for injury prevention or injury healing.
Perfect. Sam.
Yeah, so for me, I did go to a physical therapist at some point because I was having hip flexor issues, and I just I got specific exercises that help me rehabilitate with that and work on my strength. So strength training and those kinds of workouts are mostly what I focus on with cross training.
Perfect. Emily?
Cool. So when I was injured, I would obviously revert to the elliptical. We were lucky to have that in our school facility, and I had some problems with my soleus. So, like Sam, I would do kind of strength training with a band to kind of improve like the strength of my lower legs. And I just think another good way that to cross train that can like work out like different muscles is actually like hiking, because it gives you like hill training. But even though the pace is slower, it's still a pretty strenuous activity if you're going like uphill, and it's more of like a long-term effort rather than like a short burst of energy. So that's also a good way. And other low impact exercises that I like to do are biking, and just like online workouts that can still get you that cardio in and like strengthen you without like actually running. Yeah.
All right, Utah.
All right, so for me personally, I've been pretty lucky enough to not sort of be injured. But for example, if I want to go for a higher mileage day, for example, if I'm gonna do like something like 12 miles, I'll probably do like 8 miles in the morning, and then because I don't want to sort of put myself at risk for getting an injury in terms of like impact wise, I'd probably just hop on the elliptical. I'm lucky enough to have like an elliptical at home, so in times of injury, or if if I don't have time, or if it's too dark out to go run safely, then I'll just get on the elliptical. So I'm very lucky. Also, I think if you're not right now, if you're not, because of the COVID-19 situation, if you're not able to go to like a gym, if you're not able to access these sort of equipment, then I think a very viable alternative is sort of exercise videos. These you can find these online, and these sort of have a these exercises you can do in place. I think sort of a workout video such as P90X. I think those are available on YouTube. These these are very sort of a high intensity, and so I think if you're trying to maintain fitness, it's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree across the board with everyone. Personally, I've cross-trained with biking a couple years ago a lot. I did, STP when I was in Seattle. We did Seattle, Portland, and that supplemented my running for a little bit because it was that long distance training and running. But it's still important, I think, just if you want to cross train, but you want to kind of stay in shape and you're training for a marathon, then I think it'll be really important to just stay running at least, 2 to 3 times a week, just to, make sure your muscles still know, what running is and is still kind of keeping in that frame of mind. So we have 2 more questions. I think we'll just have one person answer each just because of timing, and we went a little bit over time. But next question is, why is cross training important? Like, do we have to actually do it, or is just running regularly okay? Who wants to take this?
So is it okay if I jump in?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously cross training, obviously running is obviously the best. If you're trying to get better at running, then obviously running is the best way to get in shape for running. But cross training is important because sometimes you're not going to be able to sort of handle the sort of mileage, and you might not have the time to sort of go out for 2 runs. It might just not work out. So I think cross training is definitely a viable alternative, and that's important because it sort of leaves you with options to sort of get your daily exercise in, so that you're putting yourself in better shape to get fit, that kind of stuff. Because I recognize that like going on a run, even if you think it's only going to take like 30 minutes, it might take like 50 minutes because sort of stoplights, traffic, that kind of stuff. So definitely cross training gives you more flexibility, and also we mentioned this earlier. It sort of reduces your risk of injury because you're not sort of pounding out the miles like a second time. You might go for like a run, and then you're putting further stress by going on like a second run. So in those type of situations where you're going on 2 runs, or if you're trying to hit like a daily mileage that is sort of really high, and sort of you can't just get that mileage in 1 run. You'll have to split into 2 runs, and so in those situations, cross training is definitely going to come into play. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Utah. So the last question that we're going to go over today is, how can I build cross training into my weekly routine? So I think this was lightly touched on by Sam in strength training. So I think if you want to go and talk about that, that would be the best.
Yeah, I can do that. So building cross training into a weekly routine, there's a lot of there's kind of some carryover. So talked a little bit about it. Here, I'm figuring things out here. But normal cross training activities sometimes have kind of a mileage equivalent to running. Like biking it's supposed to be like 3 miles biked is 1 mile run. And so if you kind of make a mileage plan at the beginning and then kind of fit those pieces together to create a plan where it's almost equivalent to running, but it's not running, obviously it's cross training. And then also just spreading it out throughout the week. So you're not starting with like 3 days in a row where you're running the entire time and then going to biking 2 days in a row. You want to kind of spread it out. Or if you're doing strength training with all of them, just kind of spread it out and be consistent. Also, focus on yourself and what you think your body's capable of handling and what you need to do to meet your goals.
Boom. Well, guys,
There's
thank you so much for
sorry,
coming.
I think there's one more quick question. I know we're over time, but I'd like to address it.
Yeah.
It is should cross training complement or supplement running? Definitely depends on the situation. For example, if you're looking to improve your like flexibility, then I think in that situation it would like complement it. But if you're like injured, that kind of stuff, and if you're doing like an activity like cycling, then it'll definitely like supplement your training. So definitely depends on your situation, but can be both, I think, generally speaking.
Yeah, I think it also depends on your goals. If you're trying to, like if you're injured and you're trying to recover, rehabilitate, you don't want to take it too hard and run and then go. You kind of want to curb back on the running a little bit and then focus more on. It's more supplementary in that case. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for your questions. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming to the event. We hope you learned something helpful about cross training and something pragmatic that you can, use that on the field. That's what we kind of advocate for. StayRunning, something that can actually be used. The information can be used tomorrow when you go out for a run. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our email is info@stayrunning.org. It's also right in the description, and we'll be sure to answer you as fast as possible. All right, and with that, I'm going to leave you guys off. Thank you so much for coming, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay running.